Yo, what is the deal, everybody? What is the deal? Welcome to another Raider Nation Unlimited. I'm your man, Wasted Talent. Salute to the chat, everybody. Look, man, excuse me, guys. You know, the late show is your brother Wasted has been taking care of some business, man. And all week, it's gonna be like that until next week we get back to our regular time. But look, man, I could not go without addressing what we saw yesterday. There were a lot of people that are shocked. There were a lot of people that are dismayed by what happened yesterday. There are a lot of people who are dejected. They feel as if what happened yesterday is a referendum on the rest of the season. There are a lot of people who did a 180 from last week or 360, but really a 180 on Geno Smith. There are a lot of people that feel like this team is a bottom basement team. Then you have a lot of people who that they hide the fact that they're being right about the team, which is not hard to be right about the Raiders not being the best team in the division, dude. Like we know what we're looking at, right? Like we understand that in the National Football League, you have head coach quarterback combination. Now, when you start talking about the best head coach in the division, look, Andy Reid is probably one of the five best coaches to ever coach this game. It is what it is, right? And then he has Patrick Mahomes, who is a generational, quarterback. Then you got Justin Herbert. We saw what he can do yesterday. Justin Herbert is a phenomenal young quarterback. He's a phenomenal young quarterback. And then you have Geno and you got Bo Nix, right? And Geno is a journeyman quarterback. He's a very good quarterback, but he's a journeyman. And what that means is that you're going to have ebbs and flows. So that means that some games Geno is going to look like one of the best players in this league. And then other times it's not going to look so great. So other times it's not going to look so great. And yesterday was one of those times. Now, what I will say to you is, listen, you have some, and look, I can't take responsibility for anyone and their opinion on this team, right? The Raiders, we got a lot of content creators, right? We got a lot of pundits, we have a lot of media people, we got a lot of fans, right? And we're kind of tuned into that algorithm, so we see it all, right? I cannot take anybody's view on this team, a viewpoint on this team, with any markum of respect. You know what I'm saying? Like I have my view, and that's why I do my show. I really don't care what anybody else thinks about this team. And what I know is that there's some people that just want to come out and they just want to be negative to look like they're some goddamn football savant. And it's not hard to see what we're up against. We're up against a lot to try to turn this thing around. We were a 4-13 team last year, man. It doesn't take some genius, some football genius to say that, oh, the Raiders are going to Raider and it's good. It's going to take, bro, we know that. What we do here is that we're going to give you the reasons why it could work. We're going to accentuate the positives for the guys on this team. We're not going to lie to you, but we're going to accentuate the positive, right? Because that's what I choose to do, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm coming on here and I'm selling you a bill of goods, right? Because that's not true. Now, look, I didn't think we were going to be 17-0. And yesterday was one of those games that when we were doing our preseason predictions, I had us losing this game. And The reason why is because the fact that Justin Herbert is healthy, and they're going to be as healthy as they can be. And if you look at the roster for the Los Angeles Chargers, they have probably from 1 to 53 the most assortment of talent of anybody in the AFC West. But with that being said, the Raiders could have won that game. And I know a lot of y'all are looking at me, oh, there's no way. The Raiders could have won that game if a few things. Listen, for as much as that defense was out on the field, for them to give up 20 points, and when they gave those points up, giving up that big play to Johnston, these are the Raiders defense is bend don't break. They're very overextended with talent. But guess what? We're at the starting point of Pete Carroll and John Spytek and all of these guys turning this thing around. And there are going to be some ebbs and flows. But the only thing I can ask for is at the end of the season that we are a competitive football team competing for a playoff spot or making the playoffs. And let's see how that works. But the thing is, I want to make sure that the team is playing meaningful football towards the end of the year. Now, what we're going to do is I'm not going to sell y'all a bill of goods, and I'm not going to sell you a bunch of hopium today. We're going to really get into this, man. There's no clowning around today or none of that. We're going to get into what really happened, what the problems were. We're going to talk about, Pete Carroll and his press conference and people kind of talking about, Geno Smith and him being careless with the football. And we got to start there, right? We're going to talk about, some of the snap counts. We're going to talk about Ashton Jeanty as well, right? We're going to talk about the offensive line. We're going to talk about Dylan Parham. Dylan Parham had a horrendous game yesterday. And Dylan Parham is in a place where if Uncle Pete knows better, he needs to make an adjustment right there. Dylan Parham, to me, and I spoke about this earlier on the phone with Graf, right? I told him, I said, yo, we have to get bigger players, bro. And the reason why I feel that way is because, listen, I come from the Al Davis school of thought when it comes to evaluating players. Bigger, stronger, faster. Our offensive line, Cole Miller's 6'9", but, he's a 6'9" guy, but it's not like, like a bulky guy. We need some bigger linemen, bro. These guys up front, Jordan Meredith, Dylan Parham, these guys are being taken to the woodshed on a weekly and week out basis. When you get some big physical defensive tackle in the defensive tackle room too. Listen, T-Book and these guys, Adam Butler, these guys are playing very well, man. And I don't want to shit on them because they've done a great job. But yo, I need that freaking nose tackle, that Norman Hand kind of nose tackle. Where is that guy in the Raiders roster? They need that guy. They need a big dude there. They need a Dexter Lawrence they need a big dude, man. That's what they need on that defensive line. Now, salute to everybody in the chat. Salute to the over 300 of you guys in the room. I cannot believe it's this many people in here this late. Get wasted with your brother, wasted. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We're definitely going to get into everything. My guy, John Bajuice, wasted. What in the hell was I watching last night? I didn't sign up for that crap. Geno better get his head out of his anus rectus. The O-line sucks. Now, look. When you talk about Geno Smith, this is a guy who is a gunslinger. He's a guy that needs to be protected for him to be at his best. He is also a guy that is going to put the football up to make a play. Now, I think what kind of happened yesterday was that Geno Smith started to lose hope. And he started hanging the ball up for some of his more talented guys to make plays. And listen, the Chargers secondary made the plays that he wanted his guys to make. You got to understand something. The Raiders have a lot of young, unproven guys, man. And when you put a guy like a Dante Thornton out there that is in his second NFL game, he doesn't understand the nuance of how to exactly take care of or take advantage of the advantage that he has over some of these guys. And then Derwin James, it was the person who pretty much won the game for the Chargers. Derwin James, they had this guy all over the place. They had him playing linebacker. They had him dropping in the coverage like a corner because he's so damn talented. That normally most safeties get beat. He's not getting beat. Derwin James is not getting beat, bro. The guy is like damn near like a shutdown corner. You can put him in a slot. You could put him out. The guy's almost like a corner. He is phenomenal. For my money, he's one of the 3 best safeties in this league. And he showed every bit of it yesterday, man. He showed every bit of it. Shout out to my guy, Ray Deloso, becoming a YouTube member, man. Shout out to him. Even though, you know, look, man, appreciate you for joining the Wasted Town Army and Droves. Shout out to my guy, Ray Primos, in the place to be. You know what I mean? Shout out to my guy, Alpha Omega, man. Yeah, and I'm sure Maxx wasn't happy, right? But if I'm being honest, man, Maxx Crosby, and look, you guys can take this how you want to take it. If Myles Garrett had Trey Pipkin in front of him, Myles Garrett would have had 3 sacks. Let's just be for real here. Maxx at the end of the game made some plays, but I think there's a lot of credit given to Maxx because of the culture setter that he is and the effort that he shows. But there are times where Maxx is not always as effective as you would like him to be. Now, he's a dog in the run game, but from a pass rusher perspective, this is a game that I think because of him going against Trey Pipkin as much as he did, he should have wrecked this game. Now, he did have that punch-out fumble towards the end of the game, look too little too late. Yeah, man, look, let me put these back on, man. I've been having an issue with my eyesight because of these lights and stuff like that. These and me being in front of a computer screen a lot, man. But yeah, listen, our troubles yesterday began and ends with the O-line. Now, you know, we know facts. O-line fools are too small. That's a fact, Joseph Burrow. But when we start talking about some of the splits here, and we start talking about exactly what happened to this game, let's get into the nuts and bolts of exactly what happened, man. Like, let's really get into it because, look, man, from my perspective, right? The game started off with Dylan Parham being under duress, and we were never able to recover. Now, Dylan Parham gave up a sack, a hit, 6 pressures, and 2 penalties. Horrendous game by Dylan Parham. Horrendous. And if I'm being honest, that experiment needs to be over. It needs to be over because Dylan Parham at this point, I don't know if it's the scheme. I don't know if it's the player. I don't know. But what I know is that we cannot survive because it's not like we didn't notice last week. He gave up 5 pressures against New England. We cannot survive this season and make a run to the playoffs with Dylan Parham on that line on a week in and week out basis. We cannot do it. We cannot do it. Salute to everybody in the chat, man. My guy, LS. The trenches were an issue before the draft and free agency. They weren't prioritized, and we will pay the price for Jeanty and Besh as the first 2 picks. Now, listen, LS, I'm going to be honest with you. You know, Jeanty, if you're talking about, you know, Pete Carroll, right? You're talking about an NFL team. The college career that Ashton Jeanty had, the production that he had, and the fact that when you talk about this Raider offensive line, this was a line last year that was in the middle of the pack. The biggest need for the Raiders was to generate a running game. Right now, there were a lot of running backs in this draft, but Ashton Jeanty was the pick for them. He was the pick because you figure there are a lot of offensive linemen in this league, right? That are 3rd and 4th round picks, right? And this was not a great draft for offensive linemen. This was not the kind of draft where you know Joe Alt is in his draft and he's sitting there at 6. That's not what we had this year. We have Will Campbell, who has struggled a little bit, and you had Armin Member, who is looking like he's doing pretty well, right? But at the end of the day, right, we are the same fan base that watched a lot of talented guys get taken, and we take Alex Leatherwood, and we're like, well, we address the offensive line. It's not where you take somebody, it's who you take. Now, this whole thing with Ashton Jeanty, and we're going to get into that a little more. Let's go over the offensive line a little bit. Two things can be true at the same time. Do I think Ashton Jeanty is going to be a very, very good and special young player? Yes, I do. Do I think that is early in his career? Yes, I do. Do I think that the offensive line has not done a lot to help Ashton Jeanty in certain situations? Yes, I do. But conversely, Ashton Jeanty didn't do anything to help himself. And he's got to wear that. And he spoke to that today in the presser today. And everyone that's watching with two eyes and with a nickel's worth of football knowledge can see that that is the case. He has to help himself. But listen, this is the National Football League, man. Yo, you don't just hit the ground running like that. A lot of the times, you do not just hit the ground running. A lot of people like to talk about, Saquon Barkley. It's if he's Saquon Barkley, is he Bijan Robinson? They want to talk about that. Right now, Saquon Barkley, when he came into the league, his first, and he had a really good season. He had 1,300 yards his rookie season. His first game was against the Dallas Cowboys. He had 17 carries, 6.8 yards a carry, and he had 109 yards his first game. His next two games, he had 43 yards. He had 31 yards. Then he broke out against a bad Redskin team. He broke out against a bad Chicago team. He broke out against the Eagles. He had a great game against the Bucs. He had 67 yards against San Francisco, 38 yards against Washington, 43 yards against Atlanta, 48 yards against Carolina, 44 yards against New Orleans, 82 yards, 28 yards against Dallas. And then he had two more 100-yard games that season. Right? Now, look, this is game two. Young rookie running backs got to figure it out. But with Saquon Barkley as a runner, he's going to figure it out. I can see the flashes. I can see it's a little, with the blocking. Mentally, he made a few mistakes. But with Saquon Barkley, not Saquon Barkley, but Ashton Jeanty definitely needs to improve is in blitz pickup. And that's always the problem when you take a rookie running back, right? He needs to improve in that today because he's not helping the cause out there. When Geno's dropping back, if Geno's dealing and those passing lanes get opened up, and they have to respect our passing game, it opens things up for him. So if he does nothing this week, he needs to focus on being a better blocker. And that is where I can definitely say to you that, I'm disappointed when it comes to the way that he is blocking. I am super disappointed in the way he's blocking, man. But listen, when you start talking about addressing in the free agency, I agree with you with some of the choices that, SpyTech made. Now, listen, I am a believer, and I said this all offseason, that the Raiders, if you're going to go and you're going to bring in a guard and you need another guard, right, you go get Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton is a guy who was highly drafted to be a left or a right tackle with the New York Jets, was moved to guard with the Eagles. He was around a bunch of talented players, but now he's a guard, and he's a pretty damn good guard. Now you got a guy that's a tackle, that is a monster tackle that you take and you put to guard. So this reminds me of Robert Gallery. Even though Robert Gallery has shorter arms, it reminds me of Robert Gallery in a sense where Robert Gallery was drafted to be that monster tackle. It didn't work out, and he was a damn good guard throughout his career, right? To me, Mekhi Becton looks a lot better in silver and black, right, than Dylan Parham or Alice Kappa. And I think that John Spytek missed the mark. He missed the mark. Morgan Moses and guys like that, those guys are long in the tooth, and I get it. But Mekhi Becton is a young, big, physical player. And I think that's one of the things that needs to just go outside of the secondary group. You need to bring in big, strong players in the trenches, bro. And this is how Al Davis made his bones when this team was at its best. And if you're going to have a guy, like Maxx Crosby, be the dynamic pass rusher he is, but be kind of on the smaller side, you need to have a bodyguard for that guy up front. You need to. Shout out to my guy, Capital. He goes, looking at the defense, I'm happy with what I saw. Held a legit Chargers offense to only 3 points in the second half. As for the offense, Chip needs to stop abandoning the run. Now, look, this is the thing. I don't think that Chip is abandoning the run. But what I think that Chip is doing is that he is giving up on the run too early. And he's running for effect and not for effectiveness. Like, he's like, okay, listen, I have a number of how many snaps and how many runs that I want to give Ashton. I want to get him 20 carries, right? But the thing about Ashton Jeanty is that he is a rhythm runner. He is a guy that you have to stay with. You got to let him lose a yard or two and go back to him and go back to him again. He is a guy that was featured in college. And I know this is not college, but he was featured. But there's nobody on this Raider offense, especially with Brock Bowers being hurt, right? And especially with the Chargers having Khalil Mack go out, right? And having Bud Dupree, who is not great against the run. There's no reason why you don't shift your focus, right? When you're down and the game is close and it's a 1 or 2 score game, to committing to the run in a heavy way for a drive. Just give me a drive. Give me a drive, bro. Give me a drive. Hey, come out on first down, throw. And if you don't get the first down and it's, say if you get 6 yards and it's 2nd and 4, yo, give Ashton Jeanty a couple carries. Let him pick up that first. Then let him get another on first down. And then let him get another on 2nd down. And then, yo, if you got to throw on 3rd, then throw. Then if you get a first down, give him another carry. But they got to commit to him in a way where he gets a rhythm going. And that has not been being done, bro. It hasn't been being done. And I think that, Pete needs to step in and show him the way. But it's also up for Ashton Jeanty, if I'm being honest, to take advantage of the opportunities that he has. But salute to everybody in the chat. My guy, Joseph Ibarra. What you think about JPJ going back to center? There was bad snaps all night and giving up easy pressures. The interior O-line looked bad as F. Now, look, if we're being honest, the eye test is telling me that Jordan Meredith is struggling with his lack of size, right? But Jordan Meredith did not give up a pressure. A lot of those pressures were attributed to Alex Kappa. Now, Alex Kappa gave up 4 pressures in a sack. He was right there along with our guy, Dylan Parham. And DJ Glaze gave up 2 pressures, and that's to be expected, right? But listen, with guards with a minimum of 80 snaps, Dylan Parham ranks 55th, 33rd in run blocking, 58th in pass blocking, last in pressures allowed, last in penalties. Now, he ranks 33rd out of 62 possible starting guards with 80 snaps. He ranks 55th out of 62. 58 in pass blocking out of a possible. So, there's only 4 more guards who play 80 snaps who was worse than this guy in the entire effing league. He's worse than the league in pressures allowed and worse than the league in penalties. It is time to make a change early in the season because one bad apple could spoil a bunch. I am not being hyperbolic here, right? And we all knew in the offseason that the Raiders offensive line needed to, listen, we all knew that, bro. Nobody is saying that they don't. The thing is that, yo, if they feel like they need to improve other parts of the team and they're going to prioritize that over the offensive line, I understand it, because listen, Rome was not built in a day. If we're sitting up here and saying that we expect this team to go to the Super Bowl this year, nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that. But it's the thing. I'm no apologist for my views on my show and how I see the Raiders. If you guys buy into how I see it, I appreciate it. But I am no apologist. But what I will tell you is this. Yo, I'm not going to come here every week and just shit on the Raiders. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to come here every day and say, yo, you know, they need to improve. And of course they do. They were fucking 4-13. They were 4-13 last year. 4-13, bro. They picked in the top 10 last year. We know what the hell we're dealing with here. What I need to see is actual improvement, like tangibles. Like, yo, okay, we had the worst quarterback room in the league last year. Now we have a middle-in-the-road journeyman vet. Great. We had Luke Getsy as our offensive coordinator, Scott Turner. We got Chip Kelly. We had Antonio High-Stakes Pierce as our head coach. We got a Hall of Fame guy as our head coach. Those are tangible improvements. So if I see that, I'm going to speak on it. I'm not going to say, oh, we got to wait and see. Like, bro, I already know that we're better at head coach. That's clear. I already know that we're better at quarterback than we have been since Derek Carr has left. That's clear. It's clear. Geno can have a bad game, and Geno will come back next week, and all these people who are dogging Geno Smith out today are going to jump right on the bandwagon and surf on a wave. But does he need to make better decisions? You damn right. He definitely does. Does he need to go and have a conversation with himself and get his psyche right? Yes, the hell he does. 100%. So listen, I am going to put listen, it's a team game, but I'm putting a lot of that loss squarely on the shoulders of Geno Smith and Dylan Parham. Squarely on the shoulders. LS with the $5 holler, man. Appreciate you, bro. May not have been a draft for O-line, but it was absolutely a draft for running backs. Pick 6 was awful value. Besh in his second was diabolical, and I like Besh coming out. Now, look, I can't lie to you. I would have probably gotten a defensive back at number 2. Right? But you got to let Ashton Jeanty, this is his second game, bro. This is his second game. So let me ask you a question. If Ashton Jeanty has a run, he has a couple 100-yard games. He breaks a couple of games. He does well. He rushes for 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards as a rookie. Scores 8-9 touchdowns. Is it a bad pick then? Like, yo, this is the one thing that I will say to all of y'all in the chat that are saying it's terrible value, right? The problem with the National Football League is this cookie cutter way to kind of slot contracts in the slot positions, right? People will say, I remember people when the Giants drafted Saquon Barkley, people were saying that was horrendous. That was horrendous. And it wasn't good for the Giants. Probably, you know, they got their years mixed up. They probably should have took a quarterback, whatever, right? But be that as it may, any team that has a Saquon Barkley at this point, is it a bad pick? Everybody's like, oh, well, Derrick Henry, oh my God. Was Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry was a second-round pick, right? Was having a Derrick Henry for 8 years in your organization, was that bad for the Tennessee Titans, even if they didn't get to the mountaintop and win the Super Bowl? Is it bad having Christian McCaffrey in your organization? No, it's not. The Raiders are in a situation where if Ashton Jeanty could be that kind of player, they're in position to pay him if Geno Smith is their quarterback for the next 2 to 3 years. Because by the time it's time for them to pay him, right, if Geno's on his way out, right, and his team is good or whatever, or they have a quarterback of the future and they have a young kid, no matter what happens, that kid will be on his rookie deal when Jeanty is in the prime of his career and when Brock Bowers is in the prime of his career, and they got to pay them 2 guys. So the quarterback won't be getting paid, and he'll have 2 elite weapons to make him be successful. So you have to you got to think from a bird's eye view and not a worm's eye view when you start talking about football. And we started by slotting contracts. Like even this whole thing, and Chris Sims spoke to this, and I can't stand that effing guy. But what I will say is he's right. And I wish football goes back to this. People just pay quarterbacks in this league just because they're quarterbacks, and they haven't even played well. And I'm glad that Geno Smith is not getting paid a crazy amount of money, because we need to go back to the best players getting paid the most. He talked about his father with the New York Giants, who Phil Simms was damn near Hall of Fame quarterback to me. I think Phil Simms was great. I think had he not gotten hurt, they were 11-1 when he got hurt. Had he not gotten hurt, he won that Super Bowl, and not Jeff Hostetler, he would have been a Hall of Fame, won 2 Super Bowls, right? You know, on a team that, you know, helped define the 80s. The Giants, the 49ers, they were those teams that were always, the Redskins, those were teams that were always there, right? So, but I digress, right? When you talk about Phil Simms, he didn't get paid close to what Lawrence Taylor got paid. And you know why? Because he's not fucking Lawrence Taylor, bro. It's not fucking Lawrence Taylor. And a lot of these guys are making a lot of money for no effing reason. Salute to the chat, man. My guy S. Dot. Salute. Now wasted. Can you give me my flowers, brother? Because I've been saying since before the draft about the interior of this O-line, especially Parham not being it. Just want us to win, bro. Nobody, S. Dot. We joke, we laugh, bro. You're not hitting on nothing prolific saying that we need to improve the interior of our offensive line, bro. Nobody's saying that you're wrong. You got to understand something, bro. When you guys do all of this shit, you guys act like we as fans have any control over what they're going to do and who they pick. We understand that, yo, does it look like they need to change it? Absolutely. But do we owe it to the Raiders to see it through with some of these young guys? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do, right? Because there are some guys in this league who make an ascension in their 3rd year. There's some guys in this league that before their contract is up, they become solid starters. Everyone doesn't emerge automatically when they come into the National Football League. I mean, are we being honest here? Can we come to the front of the congregation and be honest with ourselves? Everyone does not emerge as soon as they come into this league, bro. You got to give these guys a chance, right? They kept Colton, great. They wanted to see if Parham, they felt like he can build on what happened last year. It's not looking like he can. The year before that, they brought in Jackson Powers Johnson. They addressed the line in that way. And then you have Spytek, I think, making a mistake in bringing in Alex Kappa. That was a mistake. That's his guy. He felt like he was good on a Super Bowl team. He was wrong about that. But Jack Besh, we don't know who he's going to turn into. It's only 2 games into the kid's career. So I don't want to call anything a mistake at this juncture. I think it's unfair. I think it's short-sighted. And I think it's Bush League to call something a bad decision when you don't know. Now, listen, you don't know whether it's a bad decision until next year. That's when you know whether it's a bad decision or not, bro. Unless the guy's just totally freaking horrendous. Yo, my dog, Hug These. I rewatched and took notes. Geno and Parham played the dastardly duo of our downfall. Play calling from Chip was reactive without balance. Pow Mal coverage on both tutties. Jeanty needs touches. Now, look, a lot of that touchdown was not just on Isaiah Pow Mal. That touchdown was a bad play call where they dropped Maxx in the coverage. Why is Maxx being dropped in the coverage and not being able to dial up pressure on Herbert? The only way you stop and they only rushed 3 guys on that play, that touchdown play to Johnston. And if you look at the fact that Johnston, I think Justin Herbert on a year has 5 touchdowns. Quentin Johnston has 3 of them. All of that, he drops the ball stuff, that's done. He is a problem. He is a threat. He is a threat. You can't, bro, I think sometimes Patrick Graham gets a little cute sometimes. He tries to get cute on defense. Yo, when you're in a situation and that down and distance, you do not drop Maxx Crosby into coverage freaking ever. You don't do that. I'm sorry. He should be pinning his ears back and trying to get after Herbert to make him uncomfortable so he doesn't feel comfortable enough to settle in and throw a 60-yard strike, because that is the kind of quarterback this guy is. This guy is going to make you pay. Look, he's a Charger. I don't like to bloviate over anybody in this league. But let me tell you something. To me, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, this kid, Burrow, that's the five, right? And then you got the young up-and-coming guys like Jaden Daniels and C.J. Stroud and guys like that. You got guys like, Kyler Murray, who's very, very talented. Jordan Love's talented. But when you talk about the five guys that you're like, man, these guys are studs, just throwing the ball. You got great leaders that are getting it done. You got guys like Baker Mayfield, and you got guys like Jalen Hurts, definitely, that are getting it done. But when you talk about, line them up, who your top five guys in this league, these are the guys. And Justin Herbert is one of those guys when he is healthy. You have to keep him under duress the whole game, bro. The whole game. Not part of the game, the whole game. Shout out to my guy, Capital. Looking at the defense, I'm happy with what I saw. Held the Chargers to a legit offense, only 3 points in the second half as an offense. Chip needs to stop abandoning the run. Now, I think we touched on this one, so I'm going to put a pin in that, but we got to get back to that. Larry DM with the $5 slap-a-rooney. This O-line is bad, but Geno stays staring down his first read on a lot of plays. He needs to relax. Larry, the thing is, we say that, right? But we don't have guys that are 300 pounds in our lap trying to hit us. It's bro, Geno's tough. He's tough. Everybody's like, oh, it's Derek Carr all over again. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. Geno didn't do what he did because he was just rattled. Geno did what he did because he's trying to make, and look, Jesse Minter, and I gotta say this, that guy's a terrific defensive coordinator. He has the kind of scheme where, the Raiders are always going to be in a bad down and distance. They're always going to get just enough. And the way you beat Jesse Minter's scheme is to run on it. I told y'all before the game, and that's the thing about chipping these guys. And Hug D's hit that right on the nose, man. It's very reactive play calling. Very reactive, bro. And I don't know if Chip Kelly is calling the plays, and I don't want to blame him too tough, right? But I don't know if he's calling this offense from the prism of him coming from Ohio State and going into almost every single game having the better assortment of athletes. I think that Chip needs to realize and read the room a little bit here. And sometimes you have to do things and set things up for later on. Sometimes just because you call a play, if you don't have, a situation where your offensive line is dominating, and, like I'm going to be honest with you, the Jack Bech pick, I would have liked to see the Raiders take the kid out of Ohio State to tackle, Jackson. I would have loved that. I don't understand why that wasn't done. I would have loved to see them take a corner or him. To me, that was more of a need. But, who are we? Right? I think John Spytek learned the lesson. He better have. And I'm praying that the prospect, because this is a better offensive line year. I hope that he addresses the offensive line in a different way. Now, them going and getting Caleb Rogers and getting the kid out of William and Mary, listen, that was addressed in the line. Grant, that was addressed in the line. But I think that was a pin for later on, right? These guys might be starters or they might be high-end backups, right? But I think right now, right, if we're being honest, the clock needs to stop on the Dylan Parham stuff. That's over. Jackson Powers Johnson, people talk about, should we move him to center? I'm going to be honest with you. I think having an elite center in the middle of a bad offensive line makes a bad offensive line an average one. I think Jackson Powers Johnson should go back to center. I do. Right? And he's made a lot of mistakes. Don't make no mistake about it. And Jordan Meredith, is a guy that has not on paper made any mistakes to where he should lose his job. And there are certain things that we don't see, right? There are certain calls and things that happen in the nuts and bolts of the game that you're not going to see with the naked eye, no matter who or how, adept you are at the game. Even former players and stuff, unless you're in that huddle, you just don't know. You don't always pick up on the nuance of, why Jordan Meredith might have gotten a nod over JPJ. But just from the naked eye, and that's the only prism that I can speak to, I think Jackson Powers Johnson being in the middle of that defense and being able to take guys like Chris Jones and these nose tackles on one is invaluable to a line that has a lack of physicality. It's invaluable. My guy Raider Rush, man, with the $5 slap-a-rooney. One-on-one, and some fans act like we won a 16. We have to remember that this is a new offensive staff in game 2 of 17. Chill the F out. They'll bounce back. Let's hope they do, right? But you got to understand something, Raider Rash. The fans that are concerned about what's going on with this team and what they saw yesterday, they're entitled to that. They are entitled to that. They're entitled to that, bro. They're entitled to feel that way. There's been a lot of bad football played in silver and black the last few years, a long time. There are fans in the stadium. I had guys hit me, in my inbox. Salute to everybody who hit me in the inbox. I left my phone upstairs. I left my phone by my wife. I don't have my phone and down here. I'm not gonna leave the show to get my phone, but there's a lot of guys that hit me on my Instagram that were at the game yesterday. LB Maximus was at the game yesterday. A lot of my guys were at the game, and I can't remember. I can't remember who said this, man. But if you were in the chat, let me know if you would have won. But one of my guys was saying that I was at the game yesterday, and people complaining about, hey man, we paying all this money for this shit. They're paying two grand, to watch a game for this shit. Fans are entitled to feel like that. They're entitled to feel the Chicken Little syndrome. They're entitled. They're entitled to feel however they want to, bro. Like, make no mistake about that. They are. Do I agree? No, I don't. But I understand it, bro. I totally understand. I'm not gonna sit up here and give y'all a referendum on how to rate her. I'm not gonna do that. Salute to everybody in the chat, man. My guy Oscar Ponce, man, with the $5 holler, man. Can we all just agree that the Chargers only championship in the future would be a hot dog eating contest, Raider Nation for life? Yo, Oscar Ponce, I hope so, because I'm going to be real with you, bro. Over the last 15 years, that's the only thing we've been able to hang over their head is that they haven't won. But, bro, to me, that's a straw man argument. I don't give a shit about that, if I'm being honest. We joke around as Raider fans and stuff about the Chargers not having a ring. I don't care about that, bro, because there's a lot of people that weren't even born the last ring we had. They don't know, you know what I'm saying? They can't feel that. I was a young kid the last time we won. I've been alive for all 3 of our championships, right? But it wasn't like I knew what was going on the first one. It wasn't like, the one in 1980. I was a tiny kid. I was a kid. And the one that I remember, I was little. I was young. So I was a young kid. I remember it. But, listen, I've gone my whole adult life without the Raiders, winning a championship. And bro, look, man, it's great. The history of the Raiders is something that we can always lean on, right? But I'm tired of leaning on history, man. And this game yesterday would have, kind of been that shot in the arm that this organization needed. It would have been something that would change the narrative around the way the Raiders are covered. Look, I'm going to be real with you, man. The national media always dogs the Raiders out. And we always say, F them. But it hurts, man. But to me, it hurts me, man, when they talk about my team like that, bro. It hurts because I know how great this organization is, bro. And I know how great this fan base is. And I know how great, Al Davis was. It hurts it fucks with me, bro. I hate that. I hate that they're able to shit talk our team like that. And if it to have any validity, man, I hate it. I hate it, bro. You know, I want the media to have to eat their words. Man, yo. I hate it, man. I can't fucking stand it, bro. Can't stand it, bro. You know, and there's some things that, you know, when we start talking about, you know, Al, and you start talking about, you know, the good times with Al, right? I think that the Al Davis metric has been applied all across the league. Bigger, stronger, faster, right? We need, and some of these GMs need to realize, bro, that yo, some of these athletes are not gonna fucking cut it. They're not gonna cut it in a division. Like you see that line. Everybody's talking about, yo, they lost 2 defensive tackles, and I fell into that too. Those 2 big boys that they got up there, them 2 defensive tackles that the Chargers have. Let me tell you something. That's a problem. That is a problem. They might not be, you know, Jalen Carter, but bro, when you got big motherfuckers like that up front, bro, and then you got a undersized guard like Dylan Parham, who came out of high school, who was a tight end. He's playing guard in the National Football League, and he's one Jenny Craig shake from being a tight end. You can't have that shit. You can't move them guys. Now listen. Now Anthony's tripping. He says, go sign Desmond Watson. Desmond Watson is not an NFL athlete weighing that much. Yo, they keep saying he's 420. He is grossly out of shape. I'm not signing no fat fuck bag like that. Get your punk ass in shape. Every time, oh, it's heartbreaking he can't get on the field. No, it's not. Stop fucking eating. I'm sorry, man. And you know, listen, somebody said, you know, that's the Jim Harbaugh thing. Stainless J, don't forget what Jim Harbaugh started as a coach. That's an Al Davis thing, bro. That's an Al Davis thing. He is a disciple of Al Davis. We need to get back to that. Shout out to my guy Halo, man. Redbone. When I was growing up, the Raiders were the cream of the crop. Now, for decades, we've been laughed at. Shit is hard. This needs to turn around quick. The nation has been tired for too long. Bro, it's the thing, right? We can't go back. We know the reasons why the Raiders have taken these dips and these ebbs and flows, and a lot of that is attributed to Al. But we got to deal with now. I don't care about that. Let's get into now. Let's talk about what's going on now. I know I've been on my soapbox a lot, right? So through 2 games, right? Colton Miller has played well, but the rest of this offensive line, man, you know, we got an issue here. Jordan Meredith checks in at 77th overall as a run, 17th at center, 16th in run blocking, 25th in pass blocking. This is your center. This is the great experiment. Pete Carroll, John Spytek, y'all were wrong. Get this guy from in the middle of this offensive line, because it begins and ends there. Now, from a numbers perspective, Jordan Meredith, oh, he's doing okay. But from the eye test, I can see Jordan Meredith getting worked. Now, listen, we got to talk about Ashton Jeanty, bro. Ashton Jeanty, one, has made a few mistakes. He's a rookie, and but his pass protection needs to improve this week, or the Raiders need to start doing some different things. They might have to go out there and get a fullback. Now, people are saying, they want to do the 2-back metric. This whole experiment with Zamir White, I give it one more week. Zamir White has been listen, guys, I know this is a family show, but on the East Coast it's almost 11 o'clock, and I just really don't have the bandwidth to be politically correct right now. Man, Zamir White has been fucking horrendous. Horrendous. I don't want to see that guy on the field ever. And let me tell you something. Where is Dylan Laube, bro? Why are they not using Dylan Laube? Moser, it's been a healthy scratch. I don't know if he's injured or what, but goddamn it, they went out and brought a geriatric running back in here that was good 2 years ago. Bring him in. And Ridge, he says, convert Zeus to fullback. I don't think Zeus is a full, bro, you see the fullback the Chargers got? You need to go get a real, you know what, guys? Look, man, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cuss too much, and I normally don't, but I really don't care right now. They need to go get a real motherfucker. Somebody I can block. Go get a fullback. A fullback. I don't need him to run. I need Lorenzo Neal. That's what I need. Alec Ingold. I need a fullback. I need for people in the National Football League to stop acting like old school football doesn't work. Especially when you have a game that you could win. The Raiders, and I know y'all don't want to hear this, they could have won that game, bro. They could have won that game. Geno turned the ball over 3 times, and they only held that team to 3. They held that team to 3 points in the second half. He turned the ball over 3 times. And you say Allegingo, look, bro. Allegingo's a Raider first. That was a winnable game, and that's what pisses me off, man. That game makes me mad because they could have won that game, bro. They could have. I know a lot of people be like, "Oh no, they do this and that," because you got some people that just want to come in here and they're more concerned about being right. You get guys that come on here. Look, I don't want to tell nobody how to run their shows. But bro, that's part and parcel of the reason why, most of the time I do my shit myself because I don't want to hear that shit. Don't tell me why it's not going to work like you landed on something prolific. I've been seeing people on Twitter and shit, and I've been seeing people, posting stuff. Don't tell me why it's not going to work. You tell me why the fuck it can work. Tell me why it can work. I get sick of that shit, bro. This team has been bad a long time. Everybody acts like, they landed on they discovered the cure to cancer because they say that the Raiders are not playing well. The fuck are we talking about here? And I don't care what nobody talk about. Let me focus on me. We could have won that game yesterday, bro. And nobody will effing tell me different. You know, like you know, like. Look, I never worry about nobody else, bro. I don't care. I don't care because, bro. First of all, man, the man that I am, bro. Bro, I've been doing. Look, bro. I've done a lot in my life, bro. I've done a lot in my life, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like just outside of this shit, right? And yo, I don't like I love this. This has been a godsend to me doing this because I love talking about my team. I love dealing with other Raider fans. It has been absolutely amazing to get into this media. But the thing that pisses me off is people who will go and join the fucking peanut gallery. Like we don't have enough assholes on national TV like Colin Cowherd and Chris Sims and Mike Florio and all these fucking assholes who go, excuse my language, but who go on TV and anytime they get a chance to shit on the Raiders, they do. Anytime. I get sick of that shit. And then we got guys that claim that they fans of this team who are all in my chat and all in my comments. See, I told you so. Man, what the fuck? You think you special? Because you said the Raiders were gonna lose and they lost? Man, get the fuck out of here, bro. I get tired of hearing that. And I don't want to hear it. And if you come in my chat with that bullshit, you listen, and you can come in here and you can voice your opinion if it's real and you love this team. But I got a feeling that low key, a lot of y'all want to see us lose, bro. Not my guys in the chat tonight, but it's a lot of Raider fans that want like, yo, are y'all really fucking fans of this team? Are you really fans? No, listen. UA Mel. He goes, fuck, I told you so. I just want to fucking win. Bro, I respect where you coming from, bro. I respect it. I respect it. The whole reason why we even do this, bro, is to have that exchange of ideas. That's why we do this, right? I know you a fan of this team, UA. You just love you, yo. You a trenches guy. You and S Dot are trenches guys. I respect it. I respect it. Trenches guys through and through. It's the same way with me with linebackers, right? You guys are trenches guys through and through. I get it. But I'm not talking about y'all. You got some people that every time we lose, here they come. They come out of like this. It's like they crawl. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you guys are selling hope. You're selling hope. I'm here to tell you the truth. Like, fuck you. I got a truth for you. Go take that negative shit down somewhere the fuck else, bro. Take that. Don't come in my comments talking that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Just so you can be so-called right. Like go play fantasy football and be right with that shit, mother. Let me stop cursing. I gotta chill, man. You're right, Wasted. A lot of Raider Nation like complaining about our losing franchise. I'm tired of it. I want to get back to excellence. I do too. My guy Troy Romero, man. My son cried last night, brother. True Raider fans from the heart. It makes me sick how every year it's the same ass shit. F your truth, mother effers. Look, bro, we can't do that. Look, Divine Diablo is playing well with Raheem Morris down there. Divine Diablo is playing well right now, right? Divine Diablo played well at the beginning of a few seasons for the Raiders. And everybody said Divine Diablo is, oh man, my God, Divine Diablo's balling. He finally realized, look, Divine Diablo's playing well now until, Derrick Henry's out there. Divine Diablo's playing well now until, Saquon Barkley out there. He getting ran over and trucked and he missing tackles and then he's playing that Ole defense shit. I am not going to make an indictment on anything that has happened today until the end of the season. See, here we go. Wasted, we're ass. I'm just playing. Great improvements for the recent years. We've hung our heads as a team any other year with the start we had last night. Bro, look, man. And Andy, look, bro. You know, we know how this go, right? I love, look, I love Andy. That's what he do, right? But at the end of the day, bro, yo, I'm okay with being 1-1, right? And how I'm gonna judge this season is, listen, in quadrants. First 4 games, where are we? Are we 3-1? Are we 1-3? Are we 2-2? Where are we? After that, I'm gonna judge it further. Halfway point. Where are we? That's what I'm gonna do. It's incremental improvements, bro. Can these groups improve? Can these groups improve, yo? Salute to my guy, Noon Harding, with the $5 smackaroonie. What's good, Wasted? Your podcast is like therapy for us diehard fans. Thank you, my brother. Raiders, appreciate you, bro. Look, man, it's therapy for me too, bro. This shit hurt, bro. Because to me, winning yesterday would have been like almost skipping steps in turning this thing around. But guess what, man? We got to do it. We got to stay the course. Johnny Fever. Oh, salute to him. The WKRP in Cincinnati. The O-line is pure ass. Seems like the majority of Jeanty's carries, he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. Pure typical ass Raiders. Johnny Fever, bro. We've covered it. It is what it is. It'll get better. That's what I think, man. That's what I think, man. Wasted. You won one. This is the type of content I'm looking for. Keeping it real, talking your shit. Well, I appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it, brother. My guy, Andy. I'm not upset at all. I chalked us to losing this game when the schedule came out. I had us winning in LA the second time around when we have a real home field advantage. yo, that's a fact, right? But what I also attributed to is the rookies not being rookies anymore. What I also attributed to is them figuring out the configuration of what works up front based off of who's in the building this year, right? Because that was always going to be a challenge. Like the problem with a lot of the development of players now, especially when you talk about trench players, and that's why there's a premium on trench players that are great players. Throughout the years in football, right? It was a lot easier to be able to find defensive tackles, right? The offensive line's always been kind of tricky, right? Especially because certain things, changed. Like, like back in the day, offensive linemen used to be in the 3-point stance and stuff like that. And you had guys like LT, they'd have to get out of their stance and have to deal with LT. It's like, come on, you know what I'm saying? And then the game changed. And then guys got better and offensive tackles had to be more athletic. And, it's always been that thing with the offensive line. That's been a tricky thing throughout my journey in being involved in football. But when you talk about trench guys, right, on the defensive tackles, that was easier to find. Like you had years where certain teams had 4 or 5 guys, man, that were terrific. And they can plug those guys in and out. Now you also had guys that were just, freaks of nature, right? You had guys like Dan Hampton, great freaking defensive tackles, right? Great ones, right? We've had a lot of great Chester McLaughlin. We've had a lot of great defensive tackles here with the Raiders, right? Dow Russell, guys like that. But the problem now in the National Football League is the fact that they only have 14 padded practices. They're not hitting a lot. And when guys are having issues tackling, which is a good thing for this Raider team that I see, because that hasn't been a problem. Tackling hasn't been a problem so far. And you don't get a chance to work on tackling in the same manner because there's only 14 padded practices. There's not a lot of hitting being done. It's not a lot of hitting being done. And these are some of the things that I think the Raiders, they're gonna have a little problem here because I'm pushing for Caleb Rogers to start, and I'm pushing for Jackson Powers Johnson to be the center, and I'm pushing for Jordan Meredith to be the other guard. That's what I'm pushing for. Salute to my guy UA Mel. Do you think we'll be bad enough for a top 10 pick? I don't. That's why you pick a premium position when you have a high pick. top O-line will be going. UAML, it all depends on how the board falls, right? So it's not always that way, bro. Like, if you got a draft where it's a heavy quarterback draft, and you got like Lenore Sellers coming out, and you got Drew Allar coming out, and you got Nussmeier coming out, and you got all of these guys, right? If you got 4 or 5 first-round quarterbacks coming out, then the board changes, bro. Then if you got those kids from Ohio State, the wide receivers, you got a couple of really special wide receivers that come out. You have a special tight end. You have a defensive end or two there, right? Those things kind of take precedent, especially when you talk about the bad football teams. Most bad football teams are looking for a quarterback, right? Unless they already have their quarterback, like in a situation down there with Carolina with Bryce Young. So if we don't get the number 1 tackle, right? If we're picking in the middle of the draft or we're picking in the 20s, one of those 3 or 4 best linemen are going to wind up with the Raiders, right? Or it's a corner, and then maybe you might get a guard or something in the second round. You might get a Jackson Powers Johnson level prospect in the second. Then you might go out there in free agency and add a guy, and then you already got your left tackle here already. So then the line is better, right? But bro, be that as it may, running back is a premium position. People have devalued it, but it's not. And if you can get a guy that's a star, and we're not sure yet if Jeanty is a star yet, but if he turns out to be a star, then I don't want to hear none of this shit no more. If he turns out to be a top 5, 6 guy in the league at his position, then you fucking won. What are we talking about? It's almost like, yo, it's 2 games in. He hasn't really broken out yet, and we're just shitting all over it, and we're saying, we should have took just Mimbo. But then nobody's talking about how Will Campbell hasn't looked great. Nobody's talking about how some of these other young, offensive linemen haven't been looking great. And this was not a good offensive guard or tackle draft. It's not, bruh. It's not. It's not like fucking Jonathan Ogden. We passed on Jonathan Ogden here. Oscar Ponce with the $2 holler. It's time to trade for Quentin Williams. Bro, the Jets are in the football business too. The Jets are in the football business too. Bro, the one thing I know about Caleb Rogers is he's more physical than Dylan fucking Parham. That's what I know. They're saying Will Campbell's a guard, but they got him playing right tackle. They have him playing right or left. The Patriots got him playing right or left tackle. They didn't. I don't think they had him playing guard, if I'm being honest. Look, I'm not going to keep carting Dylan Parham out there, right? If Dylan Parham been in this league for 4 years, right? If he's going to be getting boat race like that every week, then put a fucking rookie out there. Everybody talk about trading for people and doing this and that. The secondary has been okay. We don't need to trade for nobody. They need to figure out what they have in this building right now. But look, let's get into the defense, right? I've been rambling on for a whole. I normally don't do this, man. Look, Jonah Lualu has played phenomenal. 2 sacks, 3 hits, 6 pressures. Thomas Booker, 3 pressures, 15% win rate. Salute to my guy Tristan Kuhn, Raider Scout, for putting the numbers up. Malcolm Kuntz, 2 pressures. Listen, Joe Alt is a beast, man. Leaky Fotu, a pressure. Win rate. Maxx Crosby, a pressure. Look, man, Max. Look, man. No disrespect to Max, right? But I expected better from Max, especially going up against Trey Pipkin. I expect better from Max. I want to see Maxx go out there and take over that Washington game. Whether I know a lot of people are saying Jaden Daniels is hurt and he might not play. That I don't ever subscribe to that shit. Aiden Padre with the $5 holler, man. Unpopular opinion. I think it's not that bad having losses like this in the first month. Opportunity to learn and get better for the next 15 games. Look, bro, more victories are for minor league coaches, as Jay-Z said. And I already told you we major you cockroaches. Nah, man. Look, this division is too good to lose winnable games to teams like the Chargers. They're not going to give us no games, bro. We're not playing against no third-string quarterback. We playing against Justin Herbert. If you're within striking distance, because this is a game that like if Antonio Pierce was our coach, we'd have got blown out. And no disrespect to Maxx. No disrespect. But I want to see the game record, bro. I don't want to see, everybody, is all they jump all on Maxx Crosby's nuts. But bro, I want to see more consistency. I want to see him consistently affect games, bro. Consistently. Member would have allowed us to move Glaze to guard, keep JPJ at center. Dog, JPJ should be at center either way, right? And then when you start talking about DJ Glaze is not our problem. Right, DJ Glaze is doing okay. And we don't even know if DJ Glaze is a good guard. Just because he's playing well at tackle does not mean, or he's playing coherent tackle doesn't mean he'd be a good guard. Be honest with you. Sorry, man. Maxx can't affect games dropping in the coverage. Let him do what he does best. Yeah. Nah. Look, and at the end of the day, right? Hug says, "Listen, Maxx disappears when he's double and triple team." Yeah, he does, right? But that's the cost of doing business when you are considered widely as one of the best pass rushers in this league. Now, what I will say is this, right? TJ Watt has the distinct pleasure of playing with Cam Hayward. He has the distinct pleasure of playing with Cam Hayward. So there's a lot of times where you could try to double TJ, but Cam's gonna make you pay, right? Maxx don't have Cam Hayward next to him. Maxx needs that. They tried to get that with Christian Wilkins. That's not what's going on right now, right? So that's also a caveat as well, right? The Raiders got it. Adam Butler is doing great, man. Like he's no superstar, but he's a good defensive tackle. He is, right? But Thomas Booker is playing really well. But the Thomas Booker acquisition looks a lot better when he's just a rotational guy and we're not having to hang our hat on him. Now, listen, guys, I've been rambling and we got to start wheeling the train back into the train station. It's almost 11 o'clock on the East Coast, right? So let's get some. Let's kind of put a nice little bow into this thing. Some of the things that I would like to see from the Raiders going forward, based off of what I saw from this game, right? I think Chip Kelly needs to commit to the run in a way where he is not being a prisoner of the moment. 100%. I think Geno Smith has to take what the defense gives him sometimes instead of being such a gunslinger. Now, the Geno Smith that's a gunslinger, when he wins games, we love it. When he throws the ball and he throws in the triple coverage and he puts it right on the receiver, we love it. But I think Geno needs to realize too that he does have some young receivers, right? And he did have a hobbled Brock Bowers. And Brock Bowers normally, when he gets into a situation where he's in the middle of the field, he's normally matched up with a linebacker. So that kind of puts Brock Bowers in an advantageous situation. But when you play the Chargers and Derwin James is healthy, you got to deal with Derwin James. And Derwin James is one of the only safeties in his league who can go step for step with Brock. Now, we talk about Tyree Wilson. This is the year. Put up or shut up. He tipped the pass, but Tyree Wilson needs to be more consistent. He needs to be more consistent. And for everybody saying that Chip is a bad play caller, that is not, it's not accurate. It's not a bad play caller. I definitely think that Chip Kelly needs to recalibrate and adjust the way and when he's calling certain things. He's getting a little pass happy because, listen, he's trying to move the football. Close game, trying to get first downs. The run wasn't working. They weren't blocking well. He's trying to move the football. If they're not blocking well, he got Geno in the shotgun. He's playing some spread concepts, just trying to get him to get the ball so he can get the ball out fast. But the problem with, the style of defense that the Chargers play, they'll give you the underneath stuff. They'll give you the underneath stuff, but they're not giving you the big play. And that's where Geno kind of ran into trouble yesterday. Geno had to take what the defense give him. And Chip Kelly has to play the field position game. Chip Kelly has to play that game where, you go underneath. You try to get some of those first downs running the ball. You got to take some of those. Sometimes you got to let them know, yeah, we're running and we don't give a shit. We don't care. I think Chip Kelly needs to adjust to the fact that he is not at Ohio State anymore. He does not have the most talented roster every week. Every week. I think he needs to go into his bag of creativity because he is he is a savant when it comes to offense. I think Chip needs to adjust. This is week 2. I am not going to say he's some bad play caller. I do not think that is cool. Now, when we start talking about, Dalton Wagner and guys like that, this is a guy that none of y'all have seen play at a level to where we should be calling for him to come in and play guard. This is a guy that has lived on our practice squad. He's lived on our practice squad. Now, he still lives there. He currently takes up space there. Right? He takes space on our practice squad or on our bench. I am ready to play a rookie before I play a guy that has been in this league and has not made his mark in his league in some subsistent way. I'm ready to play the kid. Play Caleb Rogers. Play him, and at least you got 2 guys who have started in this league that are shitty that you could just put back in. So that's what I'm looking for. Now, as far as the secondary has played well above their head. Let's hope they don't get exposed, but the secondary has been holding serve. I'm gonna need for Pete Carroll, and this is a little demerit for Uncle Pete. I need him to get Geno Smith, and he kind of called Geno Smith out. He called him out a little bit, but he's the call his ass. Because listen, one thing about Pete Carroll do not like when you turn that football over. We can't have Geno Smith turning the ball over. I like the gunslinger mentality when it works, but he has to start taking what the defense gives him and putting faith in the run. Now, when we start talking about, Patrick Graham is getting a litto too cute out there. He's getting a little too cute, man. That 3-man rush, that's fucking bullshit. He needs to run some picks or something like that to get pressure at other levels of the defense. This zone, sometimes it's a good idea a lot of the times. That bend don't break, but sometimes you gotta start having like Devin White and all of these guys, Jamal Adams, they have to start rushing the passer. They have to get pressure on the court. Somebody else besides Maxx Crosby has to dial up some pressure, man. Listen, and this is the thing, bro. When you start talking about Wagner and all these guys, bro, these are guys that, listen, maybe he might be cool, right? Maybe he might be cool, but I'd rather go with the young rookie that I know. So listen. So now it's not a question. I know what I have in this kid. Let me go with the rook. Maybe I develop something here. Let me get him some snaps. My guy Andy. Personally, I don't think it's Kelly's fault that Geno kept throwing bombs down the field. It is his fault when he continued to call plays that had deep shots in them. And Jeanty needs more carries. That's 100%, Andy. That's 100% Geno's fault. I think where I place blame on Chip Kelly is the abandoning the run and not staying in a consistent flow with the run. That's that's where I place blame on his shoulder. Salute to my brother Andy coming adding value to the show. It's the my God, top beats. Meredith needs to do a better job at center. Put JPJ back when he's ready to play. Now, I think, Pete said that, he's getting better. He sees JPJ playing next week. We don't know where he'll play, right? Real quick, on the way out, there's been a lot of uproar about this Tom Brady and now Tom Brady being in the booth. To me, I don't really give a shit. Hopefully, him being the golden boy of the league and him being an owner, a part owner of this team, sprinkles some good fortune on the Raiders. Every other team who's complaining about us having a competitive advantage, good. Fuck you. Hope we do have a competitive advantage because they give the Chiefs a competitive advantage the way they call games, and the way they call Raider games over the years has been horrendous, and I don't give two shits. I don't care if they think it's cheating. I hope he is cheating. I hope he does give the Raiders a competitive advantage. Fuck him. Excuse my language. This game, hey, Bodega Wasted. I'm going to tell you just like this, bro. And I know you think this shit is funny, bro. The clowning with avatars with me and them, that shit ends now. If I see that shit again, I'm blocking you from my channel. You got to go down to somebody else's channel clowning around like that. Listen, I have a good sense of humor, but I'm not a fucking clown either. Yo, my guy Troy Romero. Wasted. At the end of the day, we need to come out fast and efficient the next couple of days, and that will determine the rest of the season. So hopefully Brock Bowers is healthy. Hopefully, Chip Kelly knows. And I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Chip Kelly kind of got put on notice a little bit at this press conference about Jeanty, but Jeanty has to do his thing too. Jeanty got to do his thing too, bro. Jeanty has to be better in blitz pickup. Jeanty has to be better, with his knowledge of what play is being ran and where he's supposed to be, because he got Geno sacked a couple of times. But that's pretty much all I have, guys. Listen, it's been an hour and a half. It's 11. It's after 11 o'clock on the East Coast. I'm gonna be real with you, man. I'm gonna be real with you. The Raiders this week need to run the ball better. The Raiders need to make a change at the offensive line. Dylan Parham, they cannot go out another week. They cannot go another week with Dylan Parham at guard. That's the major change. Dylan Parham cannot start. I don't give a shit if they go out there with Alex Kappa and JPJ and Meredith, whatever iteration of that, but Dylan Parham needs to go get some pine, bro. That's enough. I've seen enough. Even in the wind, he was fucking horrendous. It's time I never disrespect NFL players because they do something that listen, they're the one of the 1%. but that still doesn't mean that you don't have to do your job and you can't be criticized. Dylan Parham needs to sit. That's a nut. That's it. My guy, OGDA in a place, man. Go take a melatonin. You all riled up tonight. we've been dead. Parham was too small since he been. That's a fact, man. My man, OGDA, man, in the place, man. But guys, that's pretty much what it is. Listen, it begins and ends with committing to the run and sitting Dylan Parham down. It's time. It's time. He needs to go. Listen, guys, you guys have a terrific night. I'm sorry if some of y'all thought we was gonna go 17-0. I'm sorry if you guys want me to come in here and shit all over the team. I will never do that. I love this team, and I'm gonna give you ways that they can win. We're gonna be rocking and rolling all week. Listen, and listen, S, if he does, he fucking does, right? Let's hope so. Let's hope so. But I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. If he has another bad game, this organizational malpractice to keep this fucking guy starting. And that's all I'm gonna say. Listen, y'all have a terrific night. I'm gonna go catch some Z's. Y'all rock back with me tomorrow. We're gonna be going late all week this week, y'all. We're gonna be doing these late shows because I got some stuff going on, so I'm not available the time I'm normally available. But this week, all wasted talent. We might have a guest or two, but we're gonna be rocking and rolling. You guys have a great time. This was not a family show today. I can't even put this show up on Apple and Spotify today, so I'm gonna have to do, and guys, going forward too, going over to Apple, going over to Spotify, the show is up. What I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start doing audio podcasts that are just audio podcasts, and they're not going to be a replay of the show. So I think you guys will really, really enjoy that. After I get off now, I'm going to do a 30-minute podcast over. It'll be up tomorrow morning. But hey, listen, guys, look out for that. Share that thing out to all social media. Everybody who supports the Wasted Talent Army, we need for that situation over there to grow. We need for that to grow. Like, if you guys want to see what we do, get out there into the neither world, the audio podcast is huge for me and for the guys. So I need for you guys to share that out if you guys can. I really, really appreciate you guys. You guys have a terrific night. Raider C, he goes, ever since Wasted started wearing those glasses, we suck. Raider C, ever since you've been in my chat, you have brought the Raiders down 3 levels, you little surfer bob face bum. You get the F up out of my chat, and I don't know what the F is wrong with you.
Man, you a bitch.
F up out of here, Raider C. You have a terrible night, man. I'll see y'all tomorrow, man. Peace. Oh, we gonna be rocking tomorrow late too, man. Peace, y'all.